Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, talk about recent bits of news, things that have happened since our last show, and we've got a slightly new format here. Instead of going through all kinds of news that has happened, we're concentrating on a few specific things to try to get a little bit more in-depth on some of them. Who's the we? I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook and Instagram as a cosplay photographer, Burley_adopter on Twitter. Joining me tonight with his wonderful lit sign. Like that. Lewis, introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful sign now, isn't it? Hello, everyone. It's been a while. I've been very busy, a lot of things. You know, I am a healthcare professional, so all day, all night, grind and grind. But to reintroduce myself, my name's Louis Correa, also known as Crash the Stampede on Twitch. If you want to check out any of my shows, I tend to participate in a lot of other people's shows nowadays because timing and everything. But I'm a co-producer with Nerd Caliber, and I'm always happy to be around. I love Nerd Caliber. I love what we do. I hope you guys love it too. And tonight we have, as Rodney said, a couple, a little less in terms of topics, but hopefully we'll have more of a dialogue. And with that said, I hope you guys chime in with us in the chat. Maybe you have some opinions, something you want to toss out. We do monitor the chat and try to answer questions. Lulu, welcome to the show. Blueberry, welcome to the show as well. Luminous, I know you're not here, but you probably are here lurking like goddamn Batman. So I'm going to say it now and then we'll say it later.
All right. And since you mentioned it, and we do like to talk about it, let's talk about Twitch. So we do have a Twitch channel. We stream this show, and in case anybody hasn't seen this or didn't hear about it on our last show, this is going to be the only show going forward for Nerd Caliber as far as live shows. We've put the kibosh on the others. They were basically just there to make sure we had content during the pandemic. Things, that was me knocking wood, seem to be coming back for cons. So hopefully we won't have to rely on filler shows. This show gets the best response. We like this show, so this is the one that's staying. But this show also streams live on Twitch and Facebook Live. We're looking to push our Twitch numbers, so if you can go to that URL there, if you have a Twitch account, twitch.tv/nerdcaliber, we would love to have you join us, follow us there, and we can build those numbers up to the vast empire, well, whatever. So, let's start with some very cool news that kind of started out Pride Month. And that is a double dose of renewals from the Power from Down Under. That's not what they call him. Taika Waititi. Two shows that he co-created and co-executive produced. The first is What We Do in the Shadows. It was announced that that is going to be renewed for not just the next season, the 5th season, but also a 6th season announced on... Actually, that wasn't on the first day of Pride Month. But season 4 premieres on July 12th. Big changes that need to happen, or that are going to happen, starting with season 4, based on the huge cliffhanger that they left season 3 on. But they've got 2 more seasons after this one that's coming up. So good for them, good for Waititi. It's a hugely popular show with a number of the team members here. The other piece of Taika Waititi renewal news came on the first day of Pride Month, June 1st, and leading to a lot of speculation that it was literally being held until that day, and that is the renewal of a 2nd season of Our Flag Means Death, which is up on your screen here.
I would totally hold it off. I would have held it off to Pride Month too.
Yeah. I mean, it is the gayest gay pirate show you can imagine. It's also one of the best personal growth dramatic stories while being wonderfully funny. It's just an amazing show, what they do with that show. But the cast is as LGBTQ plus as you can get. The wonderful casting here of Jim in the cowboy-esque hat is Vico Ortiz, a trans actor playing a trans character.
All right.
Who, once they realize that Jim is not just Jim, everybody on the ship just starts calling Jim they. You know, which probably didn't really happen back in 1717-ish, but, you know, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief on that anachronism because it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I have seen some or have read some historical instances of things like that, whether they didn't necessarily have our modern lexicon in terms of how to name it or anything like that. It was just one of those, like, it was kind of like that old head mentality where it was just like, whatever, it's whatever. Yep. Whatever is whatever.
And you got to assume that the whatever is whatever attitude was probably pretty prevalent among pirates.
Yeah. I mean, they were largely like democratic in terms of their crews, and you're on a ship with a lot of dudes for a very long time. Somebody gonna do some down low. It's just a thing, and they were pretty open about it.
As they say in the military, what happens on base stays on base.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, it kind of amazes me that nobody thought of this. Because when you think about it, so Stede Bonnet, the gentleman pirate, played by Rhys Darby in the first image I put up there, or the one to the left here in this image, literally did what he's described in this, the show as doing. He took a chunk of his family fortune and built a ship so he could go pirating while still being a gentleman of leisure. And Blackbeard, while nobody knows his real backstory, where he came from specifically, basically is a theater kid. He invented this fearsome, horrifying character, and in accounts from the period, because he didn't want to kill a lot of people. He wanted them to give up because he was so frightening.
Yeah. If I recall correctly, didn't he used to burn cannon wicks in his beard to give the ominous smoke? And there was a lot of drama. There was a lot of drama to how he attacked people.
Absolutely. 100%. And Bonnet would occasionally pose as a merchant trader just to get on some of these ships. And then his guys would all pull out the guns and swords and would just say, okay, that's it. You can fight or just give up. And they would usually give up.
Yeah.
So
to be perfectly honest, like a very good depiction of pirates is in that show Black Sails.
Yeah,
Black Sails was amazing in that regard.
Now, I haven't watched Black Sails. I should get into it. Everybody I know that's watched it loves it. So the idea that the fact that these two characters historically actually did sail on a ship together, co-captain a ship together for a couple of years. And nobody ever thought until Taika Waititi and Rhys Darby and the other co-creators all went, hey, wouldn't this be a really funny gay pirate show? It kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is. I feel like it kind of falls under that whole, like, the thing with lesbian women in history, where it's like, oh no, they're doing sexual things together. They're just best friends.
Well, yeah, that could be too. They really were just best friends. And Bonnet really did give up his ship to Blackbeard to be the captain. So, who knows how much best friends they continued to be after that. But
yeah.
Anyway, so another season, thankfully, because boy, did they leave it on a really dramatically tense moment in the end of season 1 of Our Flag Means Death. So for all of you Taika Waititi fans, good news right there. All right, so moving on to this just is going to take a little explanation. And the absolute butchering of many Polish words. This is a screen grab from a promotional YouTube video for a Witcher School LARP that was, or possibly still is, but under different names, being held in Poland. Starting back in 2015, they would conduct about 40 events over the course of 7 years, 3,000 participants in this article, who learned how to be a Witcher. It was a LARP of a Witcher school, and it was officially licensed by CD Projekt Red. So they got to use all of the terminology from the games, from the novels, and so on, in their school. Well, last week, CD Projekt Red pulled the license from this school. And apparently, the reason is that a former staff member of the school was employed as a legal advisor or counsel to this thing called the Ordo Juris, which is a, let's see how they describe it here. I love this. A, quote, this is from the PC Gamer article, quote, pretty bigoted Catholic anti-abortion organization that for years has attempted to quash the rights of both women and the LGBTQ plus community. So when this connection came out, there was a big controversy, and CD Projekt Red went, without saying that this was the reason, we're no longer allowing them to use the license. Poland, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to this. Poland elected a fairly right-wing nationalist leader in its last election. When my son was stationed over there in 2018, there were actual marches by supporters of this guy in the streets. It is, like, unfortunately, an awful lot of European countries, particularly Eastern European countries, sliding towards nationalism. So it's no big surprise that there's some of that in this organization, but damn. Poor fans of The Witcher. I don't know if anybody here in the United States was planning on heading to that, but I have a very good friend in Florida who has gone through extensive sword fighting training, basically as to essentially cosplay as Geralt or anybody in a Witcher school, to the extent that he's actually bought the non-sharpened combat steel swords that they use when they get to a certain point in this kind of training, that are actual replicas of the Witcher, both steel and silver swords.
Some serious commitment.
He is seriously committed to this and to everything he does, but that's Jay. Geez, fascists and right-wing nationalists ruining Witcher fun for a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because, like, in terms of what happened, there's one story and then another story. There's a story of that the woman works for a legal firm that represents that far right organization, and she personally doesn't have those feelings, but she can't control who the company that she works for, and it looks like CD Projekt is erring on the side of caution in this regard, because how many times have we heard those stories where I don't work for them, I don't share their ideologies, but also we should beat up people who are different from us sexually in any other way, and like it's just bad shit. Like, we'll probably never know the whole story, so I would back CD Projekt in terms of pulling out just in case, and I would assume, considering that CD Projekt Red has come under fire on occasion for certain choices that they do in certain games. Sometimes those choices are misunderstood, but anyways, like, they would be tiptoeing and trying to be a little more careful about these kind of things. And so, like, it would just be a smart play, just to be like, hey, you know what, we can't. Like, maybe if you fired this woman But then I heard a third story, and this one, grain of salt, everyone, but like a third story is just like, yeah, it's not just her. There's other people in the management that have that sentiment. They're just really good at cloaking that and not being very public about it. But apparently, some of them go to meetings, like for that kind of stuff. If not that particular brand of evil, then a different brand of evil. So there's a whole lot going around, and I would think CD Red would do some level of due diligence. One of my lights went out. Some level of due diligence in terms of like making sure. Like I would assume it's not just that one instance.
Yeah. And CD Projekt Red has said that their decision is based on I can't remember the exact wording. This cooperation was about here's the exact wording. This cooperation was about the LARP itself and potential merchandise tied to it. And then said, we do not provide further details on the matter.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
So, and yeah, everything I've read, or most of what I've read, I haven't read the third thing that there are other members of this OI organization or supporters of it.
You got to run in those LARP circles, man.
Well, yeah, and I don't, and you do. And so I'm glad you've got that. But I have read, and they have stated, or this lawyer, Anya Varziniak.
Yeah, do your best.
Maybe.
I don't think anyone's going to fault us.
Yeah, please, any of our friends watching this either now or after the fact who do speak Polish, I sincerely apologize. But yeah, she has said that she provided, quote, legal expertise for this organization, and they do not reflect her own views. But one of the policy statements that apparently she worked on was, quote, the legal mechanisms for introducing and enforcing the vaccination obligation and the possible consequences of failure to comply with it, vaccination against what, I don't know, and the draft of a law penalizing illegal abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm 100% behind CD Projekt Red on this. And as you say, Lewis, if it turns out that she really was just representing an organization and she really kind of had to do it because that was what her bosses told her to do, it's still something that CD Projekt Red doesn't want any smoke from to drift over its image.
Absolutely. And I kind of think too, like, now obviously this is just a thought here. I'm not versed in certain types of legal stuff, but I think, if I recall, I think lawyers on occasion can abstain from participating in certain defenses, certain cases that they have to have a reason, be it a personal one or a professional one, but they can abstain from participating in that. So I would think that if you really felt that way and it was like, man, I don't believe this stuff, I'm not into it, you would do everything in your power to abstain from participating in writing any of these things.
Yeah. Within a law firm that's doing legal expertise work and not actual court type work, it's pretty difficult to do that and expect that you will go anywhere in the firm after you say no.
Maybe not. I mean, I think it also kind of depends on how much leverage you have at those firms. It's always like some level of political jockeying in terms of moving up to being a what do you call them?
A partner.
Thank you, a partner.
Yeah, like Johnny Depp's lawyer is now literally today been elevated to partner in the firm that she works at.
Yeah, assuming that she stays with that firm long enough, considering the bids.
Well, yeah, I bet there's a lot of people trying to recruit her. But yeah, and as a personal thing, even if you work as a lawyer in a law firm and you kind of have to take the cases they give you, I'm sure that as an individual, you can weigh the possibility of not advancing in your firm versus your moral sensibilities. And
yeah, absolutely. I always like to think of myself as an empathetic person, and I can completely understand the difficulty of balancing morality and work. Because if we could all 100% be moral people, like 90% of us wouldn't be working.
This is very sadly true. Welcome to capitalism, kids.
Late stage, as it were.
Very late stage. So so late it's almost reverting back to feudalism. Yay. So I've seen a headline. I didn't get into it because it seems like a silly headline. But there was one person on YouTube that was speculating that CD Projekt Red might actually have to give this license back, which I don't see how that could possibly be the case, or why.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Yeah, no, it's their license to give.
Right.
Like, what are you gonna do? Sue them because they said you can't use their shit no more? Like, that'd be like my brother trying to sue me for like, yeah, go borrow my car. Oh, you fucked my car up, you can't use it again, and then he just sues me. Like, what the fuck? Excuse me. Damn it, I swore a lot.
That's okay.
For those of you who are new, I have a thing about swearing that I'm trying to stop, and anyways, there's a thing. There's a whole lot of quarters in the jar somewhere.
Hey, you got to pay for those cons somehow.
Right.
So I'm assuming this is interesting because CD Projekt Red licensed this and then pulled the license. I'm assuming that they then have a license for everything that Sapkowski has written, and therefore can pass that license along, like Saul Zaentz, or in the company he now has founded to do this, the Tolkien Company. Zaentz was just an enormous agent, for licensing and rights and so on. He has, because the Tolkien estate assigned him to do it, the rights for everything related to Tolkien. So
yeah. I think that CD has the right and the permission to do all of that, if I recall correctly, because I remember a few years ago that there was sort of a flap between the creator and CD in terms of money and how he sold the rights to them before Witcher became huge, and then he was getting pittance compared to what was coming in for the games.
Yeah.
And then they kind of worked out a new arrangement or something like that. And look at Funcom. Funcom owns the rights to all Conan, everything Conan forever.
Right. So with Conan, I would assume that the Robert E. Howard heirs still live and they have passed those rights along. Otherwise, it should be in the public domain at this point.
So from what I recall, because Funcom made a huge announcement about it, because they run one of the games I play the most.
Yeah,
is they own all the rights to Conan, everything.
Right.
So like all the comic books, all the movies, all the characters, all of that, the world design, everything, all the tabletop games.
Which means that the Howard estate must have assigned those rights to them. Because otherwise, if they didn't, it would still be in, it would now be in the public domain. There he is. Luminous, welcome to the show. Hello, I'm impressed by all the Anime Boston cosplay photos. So many. Well, thank you.
It's this man over here, not me. I'm sweating making videos.
And it's not me. It was the staff that since I was running the photo department, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and then with other fill-in 5, 6 different people at various times. Primarily 2. Chris Wan and Crystal Ree.
But Luminous, I'm just going to tell you that if you're the head of a department and people say shit rolls uphill, then so does accolades.
I'll take them, of course. But, all right, but we'll see if this goes anywhere. According to the school, which I'm calling the Witcher School because it actually has a name in Polish, and I ain't going to try that one.
Yeah, no. I dated a Polish girl, and that was tough.
Pierogi, and then I'm done. Lech Walesa, and that's it. There you go. But they say that they are going to basically create a new universe mythos to continue the school. They just won't use any terminology or imagery or anything related to The Witcher.
Yeah. Welcome to the Watcher School with the Wolfhound.
Oh yes, the school of the honey badger.
Jerry and his daughter crickets.
Yeah, so yeah, if they are not in fact riddled with a bunch of far right fascist people, then I hope they succeed. If they are riddled with a bunch of far right fascist people, I hope they fall flat on their asses.
It's a goddamn shame that is such a thing. You know, it happened with World of Darkness. World of Darkness came out with their newer version of their popular Vampire the Masquerade and all their stuff, and they got real alt-righty real fast, and then they had to pull the licensing from from a bunch of things, and then rewrite some of the books to accommodate for like all these instances of real world things that they inserted that were like genocide and like a lot of really fucked up shit.
Wow. I hadn't heard about that. That's
we talked about it like 2 years ago, I want to say, on the channel on this program.
Luminous Kielbasa couldn't have. How could I have forgotten Kielbasa?
I will destroy some kielbasa. I love kielbasa, especially kielbasa hot dogs with peppers in it. And then I'm gonna get hungry.
I was gonna say just grilled kielbasa and a nice spicy mustard to dip it in. Anyway, God. Before we all start drooling on our mics here, our next bit of I can't say that term of horrible behavior. This is, of course, one of the promotional screens for Diablo Immortal, a game that launched just a few days ago, which launched on PC, somewhat to the surprise of a lot of people, because let's say they announced it in 2018, for almost 4 years, it was supposed to be an exclusive on mobile. The news is that you will not be able to get this game if you live in 2 of the Benelux nations, Netherlands and Belgium. Forget it.
Go Belgium.
Yeah. And why isn't Luxembourg in here? Come on. Get all 3 of the Benelux.
Maybe they're just rolling through the legal system at the moment.
That could be. Now, without anybody actually confirming that this is the case, the generally believed reason why you cannot get these games in Netherlands or Belgium is because both of them have severe restrictions, in the case of the Netherlands, a straight out ban on any games that have loot boxes because they are gambling.
I think so.
And yeah, I think so too. In the case of both the Netherlands and Belgium, and actually England, the UK, although they haven't done anything about it yet, loot boxes are officially considered by the government as a form of gambling. And the Netherlands and Belgium are just 2 of the countries that have said, and therefore, if your game has this, you either can't sell it, or in the case of one of them, I can't remember which one, there's a huge penalty you have to pay to allow this sort of thing to happen.
Yeah, rightly so. And I just want to clarify that there are a great many games that have loot boxes. It's the concept of paying real world money to purchase these loot boxes for a chance to win some item in the game, a cosmetic or anything, versus just a game that has loot boxes that you just receive at random, like Borderlands.
Right. Or Black Desert Online, which I play a fair amount of. Loot boxes are something that appears in your, I can't remember what they call it, your gifts, your Black Spirit gifts, that's what they call it. Or you can find them, they occasionally spawn, or things that drop them spawn out in the world. That's not gambling.
Yeah, not at all. But when you're paying money for a chance to get something, that's gambling. It's the same thing as going to the casino and pulling the slots.
Just like this. Those are, in fact, loot boxes that you can get. It shows you the free daily reward, and this is one of the ways these games do it. They will give you the free daily reward and then say, oh, by the way, you can buy another reward for, in this case, $1 or $2, and it gives you a super high increased chances of getting something special.
Yeah.
That's gambling, folks. There's no other way to define it, no matter what all the EA lawyers and everybody else said in the wonderfully televised, you can find these on YouTube, hearings in the UK, it's gambling.
Absolutely. And I know some people might see that image and go, "Oh, but it's 99 cents. It's $2. What's the big deal?" Talk to Genshin Impact people about the big deal of 99-cent boxes, because 99 cents turned to $99 really goddamn fast.
If you really want something and you know it can come out of that loot box, it is not uncommon. It is not uncommon at all, both in gacha games like Genshin Impact, but also anything that has a loot box in an RPG like this Diablo Immortal, for people to pay to do 100 pulls, and in this case pay $100.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
yeah.
I think Diablo Immortal at the moment has a 0.5 on the Metacritic score because of like the blowback that it's getting for all of this.
Yeah, it is getting critic bombed, review bombed like crazy, but I think justifiably so.
No, I agree. Yeah.
You know,
I'm you know what? I put the blame squarely on EA for creating this whole thing, because EA were the ones that originally started doing money for loot boxes.
right.
And it's just bullshit. Like, as a gamer, and Rodney's a gamer as well, and a great many of our friends and family and fans are gamers, we get taxed so much in terms of gaming. Like, I constantly hear people defending the increases in prices and things like developers need to make more money. The money is coming in. The companies have to spend that money appropriately and pass it down to the people who are doing the actual work, not pass the cost to us, because they're losing money in their work. Battlefield 2242, I think it's 2242. I don't remember the latest one.
Yeah.
Is a perfect example of a game that had to suffer a sacrifice. And what I mean by sacrifice, I'm going to go into a little bit of context here. Before Battlefield whatever existed, Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2. DICE, the company that created Battlefront 2, stopped updating and releasing content for Battlefront 2 to develop this new Battlefront game. And then the Battlefront game came out, and it's absolutely pile of hot dog shit. It's terrible. It's so bad that the game Battlefront 2 has more players, and it's a game that's been around for almost a decade now, just under a decade, versus the game that literally came out about a year ago. And this one has more concurrent players.
So one of the things that needs to be made clear about this is that so when the concept of paying for additional things goes back to when certain games decided to go what was called the freemium model,
Yes.
where they stopped charging for the game, and in this case, Diablo Immortal is a free to download and play game. And where they made their money is that they would allow for you to purchase certain specific things, and there are different tiers for that. When they first started out, most of them would allow you to purchase things that were essentially cosmetic. You know, you could purchase a different, look for a sword, a different piece of armor that just looked differently. It just reskinned your existing armor.
Right.
Things like that. Then a lot of games started adding the idea of being able to purchase increases in your experience, so you could level faster.
Yeah. Increased boosting, XP boosts.
Right. And that became what's called play to win, or pay to win. So you can pay money to be a better character in the game, with better stats and the ability to do better than other people who do not pay. Then when EA decided that they were going to take that idea of paying for stuff and click it onto the in-game random generator pop-up chests and so on, so that you could pay real-world money for a randomly generated reward, and I can't think of a better term for that than gambling, that's when that third tier started, and when people really started coming down hard on the companies for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that for a long time was very much a purview of mobile gaming.
Yep.
And then when the mainstream developers started doing that kind of stuff, it just got out of control. It really did. You know, there's a subtle difference versus like Guild Wars 2, where it's free to play, but you can buy the cosmetics and you can look different. Nothing gives you XP boosts or advantage over other players. It's all purely cosmetic.
Yep.
A tiger that you couldn't ride or get in a regular game or whatever, as Rodney said, reskinned things and maybe some really cool mount that won't exist anywhere else. Conceptually, you know what you're purchasing. It's not a slot machine. It's not with a RNG of 1%. You know, you know exactly what you're buying, and right. there's a good difference in that, because you are being responsible and knowing what you're purchasing versus, you know, being kind of manipulated into buying 50 boxes for $35 and then getting one fucking item. And I know this from Overwatch, one fucking skin 100 times over and pissing you off.
Yep. Yeah. The odds of getting the thing that you want are so amazingly low. Deliberately, so that you buy more and more boxes to try to get it. There are plenty of reports of kids, and this is where the real problem comes in, is there are kids who use their parents' credit card to purchase thousands of dollars worth of loot boxes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Apple, if I recall, Apple had to put protocols in place years ago because kids were purchasing so many things from gacha games and mobile games, loot boxes like crazy. So now they're required to have permission from who owns the phone to be able to do that.
Yep. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why Apple first put in place the idea that you cannot use a third-party purchasing system in any app that's downloaded from the App Store.
That's a good policy.
Well, I mean, yeah. It ultimately turned into Apple applying that to everything and then charging a rate of percentage that is way higher than any other app store in any other platform.
Capitalism.
But one of the impetus or initial drivers for that was to try to keep this sort of thing from happening to kids, you know, playing gacha games. So another thing that is really amazing about this is that EA, who started this whole thing, was in the same boat with the most recent FIFA game, and they went, oh, okay, we'll just disable that for any purchases. You know, they're geofencing it essentially. Any purchases that are made within these two countries, it doesn't work. Why doesn't Blizzard do this with Diablo Immortal? Instead of, you know, saying how terrible the laws are in these countries, that, oh no, people can't get their game, just disable it in those countries.
It's Blizzard, man. They want that cake. They want the cake and they want to eat it too.
Yeah, they want a lot of things at Blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so before this turns into a Blizzard rant about how horrible that company is, look it up. We're going to move on to our next and final topic. Well, sort of final topic.
Real quick, though.
But
if you want to be a real asshole MMO person, real asshole MMO company, go ahead and play Star Wars: The Old Republic for free, and then realize that you can't sprint to like level 25.
Yeah.
You can walk angrily to one point there to another, but you can't fucking sprint unless you pay for the game.
Really? Yeah, they've locked out sprinting.
Yep. That's the most, that is literally my friend Ed, my friend Rachel were playing it, and Ed's running around me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh yeah, I pay a sub every month. And I'm like, I can't fucking run at level 15. What the fuck is this shit? You just see me angrily power walking to fucking bad guys while this asshole is running around in circles, just messing with me the whole time.
I will kill you with my lightsaber in 3.5 minutes when I get there.
Don't you move, bad guys. I'll be right there. Gotta catch a bus to get to the next boss fight.
Oh my god. All right, moving on to our next topic. It's Geeked Week, folks. Geeked Week. That's tough. On Netflix. Which means Netflix is dropping all sorts of announcements about all sorts of things coming up. And we're just going to do a few before we get into the big one, the one that everybody is looking forward to and was really excited for. So first up, the third and what will be final season of Lock and Key, based on Joe Hill's comic series or graphic novel that was set pretty much in Nahant, which is like about a mile and a half that way. In the comics, it's sadly it's not in the series. Is renewed for this third and final season. If you are a fan of Lock and Key, good news. It will premiere on August 10th. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go Joe Hill.
Comic book is amazing.
Comic book was really cool. I only read the first collection, so I really should probably go back and finish the whole thing because it'd be pretty stupid. The second bit of news, I don't know if you guys saw this, if you are a One Piece fan, and even if you are a One Piece fan, if you're at all looking forward to or worried about the live action adaptation, but they did a sort of sizzle reel looking at some of the sets that they're building. Apparently it's being filmed in South Africa. This is the Baratier. It's huge. It's ginormous. I mean, those waves are actual waves. Ocean waves, folks. They didn't show the Going Merry. They showed conceptual art for it. They did show they've built, apparently, the Miss Loving Duck. And it's a full-size freaking ship. It's amazing what they're doing with this.
That's pretty dope. I'll watch the movie. I'll never watch the anime in my damn life. There's more episodes in the anime than I have years on this earth.
This is true, and this is going to be a series, not a movie. So,
yeah, even I'll watch a series. Yeah,
I'll watch it because there's no way they're going to go 1,000 episodes.
No, and that's the thing. That's the best thing. Like, you can tell me all day that the anime is the most amazing anime in the world, and I'll believe you. But that still don't make me watch no 300 fucking episodes.
Oh no, they are now up to the length of the manga. They are over 1,000 episodes.
Yeah, even fucking worse. I found a website, right, where the person painstakingly and lovingly, God bless their heart, edited all the filler out so you can just watch all the important shit, and it was still like 500 episodes. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, man.
Yep, no, same here. It's just there's too much of an investment in time at this point. I'm not going to do it.
Well, give me a wiki entry. That's it.
Exactly. Which is what I don't read the manga. I don't watch the anime, so I'm not as deeply invested in this as some of our team is. But I gotta say, I'm really super impressed at the production quality and the production work that they're doing on this so far.
Yeah.
And I can't remember his name, and I'm not sure if it's in here. But the guy who's playing Luffy introduces this particular behind the scenes video thing, and he's just so perfect with the level of energy and attitude. It's like, all right, this kid's gonna just eat it up. I think the fans are gonna be very happy.
I mean, you say that.
Well, yeah, they're fans.
Yeah.
They're not Star Wars fans, so Luminous, I'm glad there are a few new series right now. Obi-Wan, Stranger Things, and The Boys. Me too.
Go Boys.
I haven't started. All of these premiered while I was at Anime Boston, so I haven't started any of them except Stranger Things. I wanted to get that one, binge that out of the way.
Luminous, I'm going to tell you something really funny that'll crack you up and probably crack up Rodney a little bit. I have a friend of mine that works for Amazon compiling data, and they're assigned to monitor The Boys, all the internet traffic and media and shit like that. Now they know. I say they because I'm specifically not giving clues to who they are. They know that I've read The Boys and I know The Boys inside and out. So every time an episode comes out and I watch it, I get a little blink notification, and it's like, so what do you think? What do you like? What's different? What do you hate versus what do you like? And so I get my brain plumed every time a new episode comes out, and she actually got a. I said
They,
yeah,
they. He
they
really meant
actually
they,
got
folks.
yeah, they actually got a little bit of a promotion and a data boy pat on the back because their thing in their report is so goddamn detailed because I'm picking my fucking brain about a comic book that I know so well.
But we're not talking about the boys. We will be, I'm sure, at some point. What we're talking about is what was the most anticipated reveal coming out of Geek Week so far. And that is not only the latest look at the Sandman, but also the premiere date. August 5th is when we get to see this. And the images that they dropped most recently are absolutely fantastic. Not images. I mean, it's actually a trailer.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you've got Dream, you've got Morpheus in his mask. You've got him escaping from the, you know, where he was trapped. I'm assuming everybody who's a big fan of Tom Sturridge is thrilled that he's clearly naked in this shot. And this, I kind of forgot that she was in this. This is Jenna Coleman as Joanna Constantine, and they pronounced it Constantine. That may be a British thing. I don't know.
I think it's a British thing.
Yeah, an ancestor of John Constantine or Teen. And
is that how they're referencing it? Because Joanna Constantine is a distant relative of his.
Distant relative. For some reason, I always read it as distant ancestor, but it might be distant relative.
Yeah,
because clearly it's set in modern times.
Yeah, she's like supposed to be. Yeah, because she's in the comics.
Yeah,
and she had her own limited comic book run as well.
Yeah. The one thing I couldn't find an image of, or high enough resolution image of, is they do show at the very end of the trailer just a few seconds of Boyd Holbrook as the Corinthian, and he is terrifying. I don't know who worked on that voice with him, but wow, he nails it.
You know what I hope for in terms of this series is, I hope it doesn't go the way of American Gods. Like, American Gods was amazing the first season; it was fantastic, and then bullshit background drama started tearing it up, and then it just kind of blah.
Yep. Yeah, which is kind of weird because so Neil Gaiman is a showrunner on this. A showrunner. He has an executive producer as well. And he was also a showrunner on Good Omens. Good Omens was really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
When he took over as showrunner for American Gods after all of that drama, it really was not the same show. Now, maybe this is a matter of him starting at the beginning and having a consistent Neil Gaiman tone and voice throughout the whole thing. And that may be why Good Omens worked and his taking over of American Gods didn't. But, and if that's the case, I'm hoping, because he's essentially in the driver's seat for this whole Sandman series. You know,
I would wager that would be the case, because it's really hard to come in and behind other people and then just kind of, like, yeah, you could come in and right the ship, but, you know, I mean, Walking Dead's a perfect example of new showrunners coming in every season or two, and then this person's trying to correct what was maybe considered a flaw in that season, and then it's like it's really a mesh of bleh.
Right.
That's a technical term, everyone. Bleh.
Bleh. Particularly applied to The Walking Dead. Bleh.
Yeah. Bleh.
But it looks really good. I really like it. I think Gaiman will do an excellent job with this. The other big news, this was a reveal that apparently nobody had any clue about, that the character Merv Pumpkinhead will be voiced by Mark Hamill.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Go Mark Hamill, man. You doing God's work.
He is just out there, and that is so cool. What a wonderful reveal. I was half watching Geeked Week and the Apple's WWDC on different monitors and turning the volume up and down based on what I thought was interesting, and I happened to just have it up on the panel where Felicia Day was interviewing, people involved in the Sandman, and the other executive producer, whose name escapes me, says, and Mark Hamill, and I went, let's turn this up. And it turns out, they just announced that Mark Hamill is in the show. Like, yes.
That's hella cool, yeah. I think I'll tell my friend Rachel. She's a huge fan of Sandman and constantly crawls halfway up my butthole to read it. And anytime the conversation so much as mentioned sand and a man in any proximity, I'm going to hear it. So
you get all the Anakin memes, and Rachel just jumps in and is like, yes, but have you read Sandman?
Exactly. I could be taking a photo at a beach and she's like, you're a man and that's sand. Have you read Sandman?
Well, good on her. And hopefully she'll like this. This, I didn't bring that scene up. The scene that we used for the teaser of him talking to the cat. Can't remember the name. Oh, not the cat, the crow. Or raven. He's talking to the raven. The background looks like one of the cover paintings. It's rain and, lights of the city behind them and so on. It looks like a Sandman cover painting. So they've got the tone of this thing nailed down. Oh.
That's awesome.
I think everybody's going to be pretty happy with it. Sturridge just looks the part. So, yeah. That's it, folks. That is geez. I think I like your idea of trimming this down to 3 to 5, Lewis. That's almost an hour.
Yeah. We some chatty Cathy's, man.
We sure is. So, before we go anywhere else, Lewis, do you have a could we please or could we not?
No, I can't think of anything. I would like to say that Anime Boston went off very well for Nerd Caliber's big we're back kind of thing. We had a fantastic time. Please look at our photo galleries. Rodney and the team of people at the photo suite. Sorry, I was fumbling that for a second. For the Anime Boston photo suite, did a fantastic job. Manny, our big Jefe, did a fantastic job with the video work. I did a fantastic job of slowly sweating to death. So I filled in the particular role of that.
And bringing vital gear, having video against a black backdrop. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. I got more lighting. Many. That's a work thing. So I didn't want to switch into the work thing. But anyways, so for the future conventions that we go to, guys, by all means, jump in, reach out to us, have a conversation with us on social media. We're looking to kind of do things a little different, so we want you guys to be a part of this journey.
Exactly. And speaking of those, so we will be at PortCon Maine and near the end of the month, 24th through the 26th. Partially, I will not be there specifically on Saturday. My son is competing in the nationals for the strongman competition, which will be in Manchester, New Hampshire this year. So, picking very big things and heavy things up and moving them around.
Rodney sired a slab of meat that looks like Captain America. I never seen someone's son sit with them at a convention and get so many women drawn to him like a black. Yeah, I'm standing there at the other end of the bar, like Snidely Whiplash, twirling my mustache, plotting evil things. I'm gonna get rid of this guy.
Too much competition.
Ain't she lovely?
It's too bad that nothing ever happened with that, because that was the last con where that happened. He was in between girls. He's a happily married man now, folks. Just so. Yeah. Anyway, that has nothing to do with it. We will also be at Terrificon at the end of July. We'll be at Kineticon between then in the middle of July. And then August, things just, the flood dams open up and it's, con after con after con.
And we will be updating you guys, so please pay attention. We'll be doing things.
We'll be doing things. One of those things we would like you to possibly do, if you're interested in doing so, is visit this URL, patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Consider becoming a patron. We have just 3 tiers. There's $2 for the lowest tier, and it helps us get to those cons now that, again, knock that wood, cons are coming back. Hopefully safely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all apologies to our team member who went to MegaCon and got the COVID. But yeah, and on that note, before we sign off, please stay safe out there, folks. You know, there's another variant that's running its way around. And its big thing is that it likes to do breakthroughs for people who have either already got it or had vaccines. You know,
Yes.
so
Err on the side of caution, folks. As your nerd caliber personnel who also is working in healthcare, tests. If you feel like you got the flu, but you feel suspicious about that flu, test yourself. Get an antigen test. They're a dime a dozen. Well, not really, but they're cheap. You can get them from free through the USPS. I just fumbled that. Like, did it? Yeah.
Yeah.
The local post office. They can mail it out to you by going online. By all means, just get yourself tested just to make sure you're okay. You know, and if you feel like it's worse, stay home.
Yep.
Even though companies are trying to force you back to work, we do still have some COVID provisions still in place.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. So, having said that, Dr. Lewis, would you give us a goodbye?
Guys, it was fantastic. Had a great time here. We had a wonderful conversation. So thank you guys for showing up and for popping in the chat, and for the people who see us later on in other time zones. It's great for you guys to join in as well. My name is Luis Correa, co-producer with Nerd Caliber, and I look forward to seeing you guys at conventions or on the show.
Absolutely. Once again, I'm Rodney Brown, and I will see you at an upcoming convention, at another show. In the meantime, please stay safe. Good night, and bye-bye.